The Third Testament, Section 5. Chapter 21, Omnipotence/Omnipresence and Justice of God. The Power of God. 1. If the present man with all his science is not able to subject the elements of nature to his will, how could he then impose his power on the spiritual forces? 2. Just as the stars in the cosmos follow their unchanging order, without man's will being able to make them change their course or their destiny, so too the order that exists in the spiritual cannot be changed by anyone. 3. I created day and night, that is, I am the light, and no one other than I can hold it back. The same applies to the spiritual. 329, 31-33. 4. When you believe in me, you may trust that my power is infinitely greater than the sin of men, and that therefore man and his life must change as soon as sin gives way before the light of truth and righteousness. 5. Can you imagine life in this world once men do the will of God? 88, 59-60. 6. For me the repentance of a human being, its renewal and its salvation cannot be impossible. I would not then be omnipotent, and man would be stronger than I. Do you hold my power inferior to the power that evil possesses in men? Do you consider the dark in man to be superior to the divine light? Never. Tell me your heart. 7. Consider, my task, after I have given you the being, is to lead you to perfection and unite you all in one spiritual family, and do not forget that my will is fulfilled over all. 8. I, the divine sower, imperceptibly place my seed of love in every spirit. I alone know at what time this seed will sprout in all mankind, and I alone can wait with infinite patience for the fruits of my works. 272, 17-19. 9. I do not want to humble you by my greatness, nor boast of it, but I show it to you nevertheless, so far as it is my will, that you may feel the supreme delight in having a God of all power, wisdom and perfection for the Father. 10. Rejoice at the thought that you will never experience the end of my power, and that the higher the development of your spirit is, the better you will recognize me. Who could not agree to know that he will never reach the greatness of his Lord? Did you not agree on earth to be younger in years compared to your earthly father? Did you not willingly grant him experience and authority? Have you not rejoiced to see that you have a stronger man than you for a father, proud, brave, and full of virtues? 73, 41-42. 11. What is the power of men against my power? What is the power of the opposition of materialistic peoples against the infinite power of spiritualization? Nothing. 12. I have allowed man to go to the limit of his striving for power and to the summit of his arrogance, so that he himself may realize that the gift of freedom of will, with which he was endowed by the Father, is a truth. 13. But when he has then reached the limit, he will open his eyes to the light and to love, and will bow down in the face of my presence, defeated by the only absolute power and the only universal wisdom, which is that of your God. 192, 53. The presence of God in all created things. 14. I have no definite or limited place where I dwell in the infinite, for my presence is in everything that exists, whether divine, spiritual, or material. You cannot tell from me in what direction my kingdom lies, and if you raise your gaze to the heights and it is directed toward heaven, do so only as something symbolic. For your planet rotates unceasingly and with every movement offers you new sections of heaven and new heights. 15. With all this I want to tell you that there is no distance between you and me, and that the only thing that separates you from me are your illicit works, which you place between my perfect law and your spirit. 16. The greater your purity, the more superior your works and the more constant your faith is, the closer, more intimate, more accessible to your prayer you will feel me. 17. Likewise also, the more you distance yourselves from the good, from the just, from what is permitted, and give yourselves over to the materialism of a dark and selfish life, the more you will have to feel me ever further from you. The more your heart distances itself from the fulfillment of my law, the more insensitive it will become to my divine presence. 18. Understand why I am making my word known in this time in this form and preparing you for spirit-to-spirit dialogue. 19. Since you believed me infinitely far away, you did not understand to come to me. I have sought you out to make my divine presence palpable to you and to prove to you that there are no spaces or distances between the Father and his children which separate them. 37, 27-32. 20. If you think that I have left my throne to make myself known to you, you are in error, for the throne which you imagine does not exist. Thrones are for the vain and haughty people. 21. Since my spirit is infinite and omnipotent, he does not dwell in a particular place, he is everywhere, in all places, in the spiritual and in the material. Where then shall that throne be, which you ascribe to me? 22. Stop giving me a material physical form on a throne like those of the earth, free me from the human form you always give me, stop dreaming of a heaven that your human mind cannot grasp. When you free yourselves from all this, it will be as if you broke the chains that bound you, as if a high wall collapsed in front of your eyes, as if a dense mist cleared and allowed you to see a horizon without limits and an infinite, radiant firmament, but accessible to your spirit. 23. Some say, God is in heaven, others say, God is in heaven, God dwells in the hereafter. But they do not know what they say, nor do they understand what they believe. I do indeed dwell in heaven, but not in the particular place which you have imagined. I dwell in heaven of light, power, love, wisdom, justice, bliss, perfection. 130, 30, 35-36. 24. My universal presence fills everything. In no place or habitat of the universe is there emptiness, everything is permeated by me. 309, 3. 25. I have told you that I am so close to you that I myself know the most secret of your thoughts, that I am everywhere where you are because I am omnipresent. I am the light that illuminates your mind through inspirations or lightful ideas. 26. I am in you because I am the Spirit who inspires you, the conscience that judges you. I am in your senses and in your body, for I am in all creation. 27. Feel me more and more in you and in everything that surrounds you, so that when the moment comes to leave this world, you may enter fully into the Spirit and there will be no distraction in your spirit by the impressions that the senses might leave, and you approach me one more step. I am the source of infinite purity from which you will drink eternally. 180, 50-52. 28. Know ye what is the origin of that light which is contained in the words spoken by the lips of the voice-bearer? Its origin is in goodness, in divine love, in the universal light that emanates from God. It is a ray or a spark of that luminous all-being that gives you life. It is a part of the infinite power that moves everything and under which everything vibrates, stirs and circles unceasingly. It is what you call divine radiance. It is the light of the divine spirit that illuminates and enlivens spirit beings. 29. That radiation has influence on both spirit and body, both on the worlds, and on men, plants, and all beings of creation. It is spiritual for the spirit, is material for matter, is intelligence for the mind, is love in the heart. It is knowledge, is talent and is self-contemplation, is instinct, is intuition and is above the senses of all beings according to their order, their nature and their degree of development. But the origin is one, God, and its essence one, love. What, then, can be impossible about my enlightening the minds of these creatures to send you a message of spiritual light? 30. The plants receive the radiation of life, which my spirit sends to them to bear fruit. The stars receive the power that my spirit radiates upon them to circle in their orbits. The earth, which is the present, living testimony, accessible to all your senses, receives unceasingly the radiation of life that makes so many miracles emerge from its womb. Why then should it be impossible that man, in whose being radiates like a jewel the presence of a spirit, in which his likeness to me is founded, should receive directly from my spirit to his spirit the divine radiation, which is the spiritual seed that is to bear fruit in him? 329, 42-44. 31. Not one of your sighs will remain unheard in heaven, every prayer finds its echo in me, none of your tribulations or crises of life will remain unnoticed by my love for the Father. I know everything, I hear, I see, and in everything I am present. 32. Because men think that I have withdrawn from them because of their sins, they finally feel far from me. O human ignorance, which has brought so much bitterness on their lips! Know that if I were to withdraw from any of my creatures, it would cease to exist instantly. But this has not happened, nor will it happen, because when I gave you the Spirit, I provided you all with eternal life. 108, 44-45. Blows of fate. 33. Do not curse the trials that afflict you and all the human race. Do not say that they are punishment, wrath, or vengeance of God, for then you blaspheme. I tell you that it is precisely these trials that bring mankind ever closer to the port of salvation. 34. Call them righteousness, atonement, or lessons, then it will be true and right. Wrath and vengeance are human passions that are inherent in those beings who are still far from peace of mind, harmony, and perfection. It is not right that you should give the vulgar name of punishment or the unworthy name of revenge to my love for you, which determines all my works. 35. Consider that you have freely set out on thorny paths or into dark abysses, and that you have not listened to my loving call, nor listened to the voice of your conscience, which is why it became necessary for pain to come to your aid, to wake you up, to stop you, to bring you to your senses, and to make you return to the true path. 181, 6-8. 36. I do not punish you, but I am righteousness, and as such I make them feel everyone who violates my commandments. For the Eternal One has made known to you his law, which no one can change. 37. See how man laments in a severe trial, when he falls into an immeasurably deep abyss, when he sees his wife weeping at the loss of loved ones, the children deprived of their sustenance, and the homes plunged into misery and tribulation. He is dismayed at his misfortune, he despairs, but instead of praying and repenting of his sins, he rises up against me and says, "How is it possible that God chastises me in this way while in truth the Divine Spirit likewise sheds tears for the pain of his children, and his tears are blood of love, of forgiveness, and of life." 38. Verily I say to you, because of the development that humanity has reached, the improvement of its situation in this time does not depend only on my mercy. She is a victim of herself, but not of my punishment. For my law and my light shine in every conscience. 39. My justice comes down to pull up every weed by its root, and even the forces of nature reveal themselves as executors of this justice. Then it seems as if everything unites to root out man, although it is to serve his purification. But some will go astray at this and say, if we have to endure such great pain, why do we come into this world at all, without considering that the pain and sin do not come from me? 40. Man is responsible for remaining ignorant of what is righteousness and what is atonement. Hence first his rebellion and then his blasphemy. Only he who has researched my teaching and observed my law is no longer able to accuse his father. 242, 19-21. From another, similar word of Christ, it is clear that this tares does not mean people, but their evil and vicious drives and inclinations. The justice of God. 41. You are like shrubs, which sometimes have branches so dry and diseased that they need painful circumcision to remove your sick parts so that you can recover. 42. When my love righteousness removes from the human tree the sick branches that damage its heart, it straightens it. 43. When a man's limb is to be cut off from his body, he sighs, trembles, and becomes cowardly, even though he knows that it is done to remove what is sick, what is dead, and threatens what can still live. 44. Even the roses, when they are cut, shed their life blood like tears of pain, but afterwards they cover themselves with the most beautiful flowers. 45. My love in an infinitely higher way circumcises the evil in the heart of my children, sometimes sacrificing myself. 46. When men crucified me, I covered my executioners with my goodness and my forgiveness and gave them life with my words, and in my silence I filled them with light, defending and saving them. Thus I circumcise evil, I ward it off with my love, and I defend and save the evildoer. Those forgivenesses were, are still and will be eternal sources of salvation. 248, 5. 47. I cannot pass judgment on you that is heavier than the weight of your transgressions. Therefore I tell you that you have nothing to fear from me, but from yourselves. 48. I alone know the severity, the greatness, and the significance of your transgressions. Men are constantly impressed by outward appearances, for they cannot penetrate into the heart of their neighbor. I, on the other hand, look into the hearts and can tell you that men have come to me who have accused themselves of grave transgressions and who were full of remorse because they insulted me, but I have found them pure. In contrast, others came and told me that they never did any harm to anyone, but I knew they were lying. For though their hands were not stained with the blood of their neighbor, the blood of their victims, whom they had commanded to take their lives, flowed down upon their spirit. They are the ones who throw the stone, hiding their hand. If I have pronounced the words cowardly, false or traitor in my rallies, their whole being is shaken, and often they have removed themselves from my teaching because they felt a look at themselves that directed them. 159, 42-43. 49. If in divine righteousness there were not present the Father's greatest love, if his righteousness had not this origin, this humanity would no longer exist, its sin and its ceaseless transgressions would have exhausted divine patience, but this has not happened. Humanity continues to live, spirit beings continue to incarnate, and at every turn, in every human work, my justice is manifested, which is love and infinite mercy. 258, 3. 50. Fathom my word, so that you may not, as many do, be deceived by the acts of my divine justice, when I afflict with power those who commit only a slight transgression, and on the other hand seemingly forgive those who have committed a grave offense. 51. The Master tells you, if I powerfully afflict those who seemingly have committed only a slight transgression, it is because I know the weakness of the spirit beings, and if they deviate from the way of fulfilling the law, it may be the first step that leads them to ruin. But when I look upon others for a grave offense, it happens because I know that a great transgression is the reason for an equally great remorse for the spirit. 52. Judge not, condemn not, desire not even in thought that my righteousness should fall on those who cause bloodshed among the nations. Only think that they, like you, are also my children, my creatures, and they will have to atone for their great crimes with great atonements. Verily I say to you, the very ones you point your fingers at as those who have mercilessly destroyed peace and plunged you into chaos will become the great peacemakers in the coming times, the great benefactors of mankind. 53. The blood of millions of victims cries out from the earth for my divine justice, but beyond human justice, it will be mine that reaches every spirit, every heart. 54. The judgment of men does not forgive, does not redeem, does not love. Mine loves, forgives, redeems, awakens to new life, lifts up and enlightens, and it is precisely those who have caused so much pain for mankind that I will redeem and save by letting them pass through their great atonement, which will be the melting pot in which they will be purified and fully awake to the voice of their conscience, so that they may see to the deepest depths of their works. I will let them go the same way they let their victims, their peoples, go. But finally they will reach spiritual purity, to be able to return to earth, to rebuild everything destroyed, to restore everything undermined. 309, 16-18. 55. Know that it is not only when death comes to you that your Father judges you, but that this judgment begins as soon as you become conscious of your works and feel the call of your conscience. 56. My judgment is always upon you. At every turn, whether in human life or in your spiritual life, you are subject to my judgment, but here in the world, in the body shell, the spirit becomes insensitive and deaf to the calls of conscience. 57. I judge you to help you open your eyes to the light, to free you from sin and to deliver you from pain. 58. In my judgment I never count the insults you might have done to me, for never in my judgment does resentment, vengeance, not even punishment appear. 59. When pain enters into your heart and hits you in the most sensitive place, it is to point out to you any mistake you make, to make you understand my teaching and to give you a new and wise teaching. At the bottom of each of these trials, my love is always present. 60. On some occasions I have allowed you to understand the cause of a trial, on others you cannot find the meaning of that warning of my justice, and this because there are deep mysteries in the work of the Father and in the life of your spirit which the human mind cannot unravel. 23, 13-17. 61. Far is the time in which you were told, with the cubit by which you measure, you shall be measured. How often has that law been used to take revenge here on earth and put aside every feeling of charity? 62. Now I tell you that I have seized this righteousness cell and will measure you with it, according to how you have measured, although I must add by way of explanation that in every one of my judgments there will be present the Father who loves you very much and the Redeemer who has come for your salvation. 63. It is man who judges with his works, terrible judgments at times, and it is your Lord who gives you help to find the way in which you can bear your atonement. 64. Verily I say to you, if you want to avoid an all too painful atonement, repent in time and give your life a new direction by a sincere renewal with works of love and mercy for your brothers. 65. Understand that I am the saving gate, the gate that will never be closed to all who seek me with true faith. 23, 19-23. 66. Now ye see that divine justice is made of love, not of punishment as yours is. What would become of you if I were to apply your own laws to judge you, before me, before whom no outward appearance nor false arguments apply? 67. If I would judge you according to your wickedness and apply your terribly hard laws, what would become of you? Then you would rightly ask me to exercise mercy. 68. But you need not be afraid, for my love never withers, nor changes, nor fades. You, on the other hand, certainly pass away, you die and are born again, you go and then come again, and so you go your pilgrimage until the day comes when you recognize your Father and submit yourselves to His divine law. 17, 53.